Electric vehicles will one day be all that we find on our roads and airways. The various innovations coming from the great minds in the EV industry is making sure of that. But while we may have seen a lot of impressive EVs over the years, each contributing their own quota to the performance and sustainability of the technology, some have failed woefully in this regard, earning their place as the worst electric vehicles in the world. Although there are tens of them, in this video you'll see a list of 10 worst electric cars in the world. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on post notifications if you haven't done that yet. Coda. The Coda is a 4-door, 4-passenger electric car that was once manufactured by Coda Automotive. The Coda looks like your average American sedan, but it's got its dark history. Regardless of the several reschedulings, before it finally began production in 2012, there were only 117 units ever produced, and they were all sold in California. The car had an average design, and the performance wasn't so impressive compared to the other products in its price range. The low sales were mostly as a result of the starting price, which was $37,250. A lot of car enthusiasts believe that such a price was too expensive for such an electric car with unimpressive functionalities. Despite the high price, the car would later be voluntarily recalled twice for safety issues, barely a year after its sales. The company eventually filed for bankruptcy. It described the car as a commercial disappointment. Zap Zebra. The Zap Zebra was an astronomical failure as far as EVs are concerned. The 6-car batteries inside gave it only 100 amps, and it produced a meager 5 horsepower and a top speed of 40. As if that wasn't disappointing enough, the Zebra had an abysmal range of 25 miles per charge, and because the company recommended to charge the car when it's half empty, it meant that drivers could only go 12 miles. It's no surprise that in 2008, about 700 units of the EV were recalled due to a braking issue that was shabbily fixed because in 2012, just 4 years later, they started developing the same faults again. In 2013, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration eventually issued that all 2008 model Zebras be either crushed or permanently disabled. City car. In the City car's defense, its production years were from 1974 to 1977, at a time when innovation couldn't have been as impressive then as it is today. The car was modelled after a golf cart, and if that isn't a red flag, then I don't know what is. While the intention behind this electric car was honest, as it was made in response to the fuel crisis of the 1970s, not much thought was given to its performance and design. The car came in 3 models, with all of them having a flat roof, a nearly vertical back, and a flat diagonal front. Some users from the back then claimed that although the car was nice and comfortable to drive, the performance was nothing to write home about. It had a top speed of 50 miles per hour, with a range of 40 miles. It also had a plastic exterior, which was considered a safety hazard. An unpardonable error of electric vehicle, the City car couldn't have missed this list. Renault Fluence ZE. The Fluence ZE by Renault was the first modern electric car that came with battery swapping technology. Renault has been in existence for over a century, and the Fluence ZE was their first major attempt to enter the electric vehicle industry, and production started in 2011. The major proposition of the Fluence was its swappable battery, which also turned out to be its worst nightmares, as buyers had to lease the batteries upon purchasing the car. The 22 kilowatts per hour battery could only offer a maximum velocity of about 60 miles per hour, and the battery power goes quickly exhausted. Another concern was also the high rate of depreciation in the value of the car. With just a year of driving, about 15,000 miles, an estimated reduction in value by 73% was noted. Eventually, Better Place, the company offering the battery swapping technology for the Fluence, had to file for bankruptcy due to the high cost of manufacturing the batteries. Gee-Whiz. Calling the Gee-Whiz a car would be quite generous. It earned itself the reputation of the worst car ever in Britain through the results of a poll conducted by the motoring magazine Auto Express. The intention behind the car's manufacturing was to make parking a lot easier on the city streets, but it turned out to be the car that would spend more time abandoned in the garage than to be found on the streets. Most complaints about the car were of its lack of comfort and its annoyingly slow acceleration that made walking seem like a better option. The Gee-Whiz failed in both design and performance, and many of its users would remember it for their anxiety on the road due to its disregard for a reliable crash protection structure. Zen. The Zen, an acronym for Zero Emission, No Noise, is a 2-seater battery electric vehicle that was produced by the Zen Motor Company of Canada from 2006 to 2010. The vehicle was touted as a neighborhood-friendly electric car, which already gives an impression of a performance-focused automobile. But it had a top speed of 25 miles per hour and a 40-mile range that did it no good with its sales. So it's no surprise to see that the vehicle proved to be a complete failure, with its production ceasing in 2009. The manufacturing company struggled to up its sales of the Zen by reducing its selling price from around $16,000 to $9,995. But this wasn't enough, because in the end, the Zen only sold 500 units. Corbin Sparrow. The Corbin Sparrow has its place as one of the ugliest three-wheelers to ever have been made, which makes it unsurprising that it's found its way into this list. The car was originally designed to be used by Domino's Pizza for delivery. It had a single passenger door and came in either a hatchback or a jelly bean model. The car could average a top speed of 70 miles per hour, which was pretty impressive for an electric car produced in 1999. It also had a range of 40 miles, but the car just wasn't practical in most cases due to its weird design and the unbelievably high price tag slammed on it. Nowadays, it's a collectible that can be sold for up to $30,000. Flybo. Flybo is a Chinese electric car that made its journey all the way to the United States, only to fail anyway. Its selling point was that it had a manual transmission, a feature that defeats the purpose of an EV. Also, while the car has an attractive exterior that makes it a beauty to behold from the outside, the interior is a disaster. In 2013, it was reviewed by a reputable automobile magazine as a death trap. This is due to the badly assembled parts and cheap materials that were used to produce the Flybo. The Flybo Total Electric was prone to rust. Its infotainment system was replaced by a piece of paper which included a manual on how to handle the vehicle. There's not much to say about an original car that looks like a cheap knockoff of itself. Miles. Miles sounds like a reassuring name for an electric car, but the car itself is a disappointment when it comes to performance. It had a starting price of $11,000, which didn't match its terrible performance and the little comfort it offered. By regulation, the vehicle was limited to a top speed of only 25 miles per hour, and any company that's serious about producing electric cars for general use should never considering offering such speeds, especially for its price during the release year. In 2013, the company declared bankruptcy in the US. This has left current users without a dealer network, technical support, or a parts source. A lot of fleet operators have no choice but to remove parts from other vehicles in order to keep the active ones moving. Miles would remain a big embarrassment to the history of electric vehicles. And lastly, we have the L car, an electric vehicle that was just too ugly, but it wasn't just that. It was also a road hazard waiting to happen. It had the worst suspension you could get in any kind of vehicle. The brake pedal was badly engineered and could tear the whole car apart if the driver tried an emergency braking. The only redeeming quality of the L car was that it could move at 25 miles per hour, which was impressive for an electric vehicle at that time. We've come to the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like and leave a comment below. Also, remember to subscribe and tap on that bell if you haven't. See you in the next video.